Home sweet home. I can't help but smile as I walk through the doorway. I flick on the lights and just stand in the center of the room, taking it all in. Although the air felt a bit stale from the warmth of the heater that had been running while we were away, there was still the scent of old parchment and books lingering on every clean surface. Yes, here we are again. Hieronymous runs his hands down my arms before he brushes my hair over my shoulders and kisses the back of my neck. I am sorry for the unpleasantness concerning some of the events on our vacation. I know how much you were looking forward to. Don't even think it, I say immediately. We had fun together, and that's what counts. Okay, sure, it would have been great if your father didn't try to screw things up between us, but he didn't, right? Of course not. Hieronymous reaches forward and kisses the bridge of my nose, and I smile up at him. Now, I believe Daniel has already returned from his sojourn. If you would like, you can go and visit him and inquire how he fared in our absence. I know he's just making a joke, but I can't help but frown. Is this your way of saying you want some alone time after spending all of break with me? Hieronymous frowns. No, Tori, It's fine. I reach up to kiss him quickly, forcing a smile to my lips. We just spent weeks together. You have stuff you need to get ready for when we get back to class. It's okay. I get it. Tori, Hieronymous begins, but I just shake my head. No, it's fine, I tell him. I'll see you later, okay? I head out the door without giving him a chance to reply. In truth, though, the smile slips from my lips almost as soon as I'm out the door. I understood that I couldn't spend every second of every day with Hieronymous. I knew that, and yet I couldn't help but feel like Hieronymous was honestly looking forward to spending some alone time with just himself and his thoughts. He was someone who valued his solitude and his alone time. He was someone who liked doing work. I understood that, I respected that, and yet I still couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed by it as well. I knew that Hieronymous loved me and liked spending time with me, and yet there were times when I felt like his work mattered more than I did. Like, if I was suddenly to disappear one day, he would be fine because his work took up all of his time anyway, and he'd hardly have a chance to miss me. I shake my head. I don't know where these thoughts were coming from, but they felt sure in my head. Maybe everything that Aloysius had said had gotten to me more than I cared to admit if they had me second-guessing how much Hieronymous really cared for me. Or maybe it was just the strangeness of being back in the normal world after spending so much time in the other world. Hieronymous did warn me that my magic and my mood might be off for a few days as I adjusted, but I didn't want to really think that much about it. Maybe I should have. Either way, I was glad to see Daniel again and get my mind off of everything. He opens the door on the second knock, smiling brightly at me. Would you hold it against me if I told you that I almost missed you? Daniel asks, and I can't help but grin as I wrap my arms around him. I definitely missed you, I tell him. Daniel seems to flush at our proximity, and I quickly pull away. Want to walk around the quad and catch up? Daniel nods, so we head into the chilly winter air. Fortunately, there wasn't any snow on the ground, although it was frigid outside, and I could feel the tip of my nose becoming numb in seconds. Fortunately, I used a small warming spell to keep us both warm as we walked. So, how were things with your parents? I asked him, almost a bit nervously as I realized they may have let slip about my marriage to Hieronymous. What did you all talk about? Not too much, Daniel replies with a shrug. They were happy that I won the election, especially through making an ally. They said it was a positive sign for diplomacy in my future. That's a good point, I admit. What else did you talk about? Not too much, Daniel repeats with a shrug before he looks pointedly at me. If you want to know if they asked about you and Professor Grabiner, yes, they did. I said that you were both treating me very well, and that was all. We mostly talked about student council stuff. That's good to hear, I tell him cheerily, glad my secret was safe, but Daniel just shakes his head. No, it's not, he replies. I'm supposed to be equally class president, but I feel like I haven't done anything yet, so I came up with a plan. Oh? I ask, raising an eyebrow. I'm going to ask Professor Potsdam if I can organize a class outing to a hockey game, Daniel says. I've always wanted to go to one, so I looked into it over break. They play locally, and there's an ice rink over by the mall, so we can probably use the shuttle to get over there, but it would be better if we organized a group outing with the professors for support. He looks up at me suddenly. Do you think they'd go for it? Isn't ice hockey an important sport for local cultural significance? I guess so, I offer. I mean, if you like sports, then yes. Great! This is the most excited I've seen Daniel look ever. Do you mind coming with me to see Professor Potsdam? I feel like it'll make a better impression if it seems like more students are interested in this than just me. My voice trails off. I don't know how to explain that I have a complicated relationship with Professor Potsdam at the moment, and I don't want her to see this as me asking her for any favors, but I just shrug it off. Sure, why not? Let's head to her office. She always seems to be in there. We head over to her office door and knock. Come in, my little dolphins, she calls as we enter. How are the waves treating you? Daniel falters for a moment before he collects himself. As class president, I'd like to propose an activity for the freshman class. He turns to look at me. And junior class too, I guess. Well, this is interesting, Potsdam replies as she claps her hands together. What did you have in mind? I'd like to arrange a trip to see a local hockey game, Daniel tells her, although I'd need your help to arrange the shuttle vans. What a lovely idea, Potsdam exclaims as she cups her cheek in one hand. I will have to put a bee in someone's ear and find out the schedules to pick the best time. I think a Saturday or a Sunday will work nicely so it doesn't interfere with your classes. I'll get back to you once I've chosen the best date. Of course, it will be up to you to get your fellow students interested. You will need at least, let's say 8 students to sign up in order to justify this special trip. Done, Daniel says excitedly. From each class, Potsdam says as she glances at me, and my face falls. And, of course, they'll each have to buy their own tickets. Can't the school cover that? Daniel asks, sounding as nervous as I feel. As a cultural experience? Interacting with the culture requires interacting with money, Potsdam reminds him, and I had to give her that. Such are the rules of American society. Daniel just sighs. Right. I will be in touch to let you know the date and the time, she says as she waves us off. Have a lovely day, dears. We turn and leave her office, but Daniel seems strangely dejected. Hey, it seems like she's all for it, I remind him. Why the long face? Because I don't know if I have 8 people that will want to go, Daniel says. How am I supposed to find 8 freshmen who are interested? By asking them, I reply simply. I'm going to have to find 8 people now too, just so you know. We can put up flyers and ask people to contact us if they're interested. Or we can go door to door and ask. Those are good ideas, Daniel says, appearing deep in thought. I'm going to go back to my room and work on the details a bit more. I told my parents I was going to step up and show everyone what a leader I can be. If I really want to impress them, I need to come up with some novel ideas on my own. By all means, I reply, and Daniel quickly turns and runs back to his room, his breath coming in and out in quick white puffs in the air. Hieronymous was working, Daniel was planning, and the rest of my friends were still on vacation. I just let out a sigh and shake my head. I shouldn't feel lonely. I should plan other things to do with my day too, but there just didn't seem like anything that interested me. Instead, I made my way over to the trails and sat down in the middle of a clump of trees. A part of me knew that I should be afraid to be on the trails all by myself at night, but I didn't feel afraid. I just felt tired. Instead, I lay on my back and spread out my arms, making a snow angel in the remnants of the snow. I had thought about them now and again, but over Christmas break, I had usually kept myself too busy to think about it. The truth was that although I had emotionally moved on, although I didn't really want to talk to them again, I still missed my parents. I still wanted to know how they were, what they were doing, and what they did over Christmas vacation. Did they spend it together? Did they travel? Did they take a trip somewhere? Moreover, I want them to know about my vacation. I wanted them to know that I learned to stand up to bullies. I wanted them to know that I was the cultural ambassador to a foreign exchange student who seemed to really take a liking to me. I wanted them to know that someone tried to kill me last year, and I wasn't afraid to go to the place where he had taken my memories and just be. And part of me wanted them to know that I had married Hieronymous. Part of me wanted them to actually meet him. I could imagine that Hieronymous would have been shy, although I couldn't imagine my parents would have had much to say to him either. It would have just been one big, awkward family dinner, although the atmosphere probably would have been more pleasant than the tense hostility I experienced when Hieronymous's father was at the table. These are dangerous thoughts, though, I realize. My parents no longer recognized that I existed, and as much as I hated to admit it, I had to do the same. Dwelling on what I could no longer have would just make me sad, and school wasn't back in session yet. I was still technically on Christmas break, and even if I only had a few hours of vacation time left, I had to try to make the most of them.